Hi, I'm John Byrne with Poets&Quants. Welcome to Fridays with Sandy. We have a handicapping adventure today with a young man whose name is Nick. He's in Pittsburgh. He's a civil engineer. He works for a mid-sized design firm that primarily services the transportation industry. And he wants to go to Duke, UVA, Carnegie-Mellon, Cornell, or Notre Dame. There are two interesting elements here. His average GMAT, which is a nice place for those schools, 710. But the big concern would be a low GPA of 2.2. Sandy, what do you think?
He presents the case of a guy with a very tight story. What he wants to do is transition from an engineering role to a kind of technical management role. That's very attractive. What he's got going for him is that he started out working for the State Department of Transportation. That is considered a silver, not a gold job. And then he transferred to this company that is a leader in civil engineering. Or maybe Nick can refine that. I don't think it's, a leader in civil engineering. And to overcome, the 710 GMAT is a good anchor. To overcome the 2.2 GPA, well, Nick, what are you thinking of saying for that?
So since I've left college, I've taken additional coursework and got A's in them.
That's great. That's the best thing you can say. What courses and how many?
So I've taken an accounting course, a applied business calculus course, statistics, principles of management.
Wow.
All good stuff.
Yeah. You got A's in all of that?
Yeah.
All right. When you write that little essay about the GPA, my advice would say, this is the lingo. And you wrote a version of this, which is close to it. My undergraduate GPA is not predictive. Is not predictive of my success in your program. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
GPA was based on my unfamiliarity with the college. Don't even explain it. You just go, since then, I've list those courses and gotten A's in all of them. My undergraduate GPA is best explained by a certain amount of academic immaturity and background family issues, neither of which is relevant anymore. That's a good way to say it.
Okay.
Good.
That's kind of vague, isn't it, Sandy?
Yeah, you can get away with being vague when what comes before it is a list of graduate courses with A's.
Yeah, I mean, that makes up for a lot.
Right.
And particularly, they're all quant courses, too.
Right. If we didn't have that, we'd have to be more specific.
They weren't graduate level courses, so they were just, I was taking them.
It's even
That's
better.
okay.
Graduate
That's okay.
Graduate courses are easy to get A's in.
Okay.
I'm not kidding.
Hey, at least it wasn't basket weaving.
No, and you might have been taking courses where you were competing with pre-meds. Was that the case? Frequently, humanities majors who want to go to medical school have to take, usually they have to take chemistry courses. Okay, that wasn't the case, but sometimes statistics. Okay, so
yeah. So the 710 is pretty good. I mean, Notre Dame is at 674.
Yeah, tell us the schools, John. You give us the rundown of the schools.
So there's only one school that has an average above 710, and that's UVA, and it's at 713. Otherwise, Duke is at 702, Cornell's at 700, and both Carnegie-Mellon and Notre Dame are under 700. Carnegie-Mellon at 691, and Notre Dame at 674. So it seems he's in pretty good shape there, right?
You're adding value to those schools, man. You're giving them presence.
There
right?
you go.
Yeah.
And then the 2.2, obviously, as we know, it's below. And, the biggest gap would be at Duke and UVA, where the average GPA is 3.5. At Cornell, Notre Dame, and CMU, it's 3.3.
No, 2.2 is of concern to a school because it's like there's like a psycho alert. Okay, I mean 2.2 is they're concerned about your ability to do the three things every business school student has to do and every student has to do. And John, what are those three things?
You've got to sit down, take it, and spit it back.
Yeah, sit still, eat shit, and spit it back, okay? But 2.2 indicates your inability to do that, okay? And that
sit
is...
still, you probably weren't there to absorb it, and you certainly didn't spit it back.
Yeah. Okay, so the 2.2, I think is negated by those later courses. And yeah, you might expand the explanation. You go, the 2.2 was not based on my inability to be a good student. It was based on distractions I had. If you want to mention the issues you mentioned in the essay you sent me, that works. If you want to mention family conflict, that works. I think, well, here's the question. How do you get into a pretty good school with a 2.2? Step one, take more courses. That's the major answer. Step two, you know, have a job history that shows, like working for the state is a proxy for showing up, eating shit, and spitting it back. In most people's minds, that's what state employment is.
It's not far off
the truth. And it's all consistent. So I think you've got a real, and a 710, as John pointed out, is above the average for a lot of your target schools.
Yeah, and I'm also planning on retaking it at least maybe twice to get a better score.
That might help. As a little known, well, an increasingly more known fact is like getting a 730. You could start falling into financial aid category.
Yeah.
If somebody was very sympathetic to this resume and you had a 730, they could say, not only am I going to take this guy, I really want him. I'm going to give him some money.
You think 20 points makes a difference?
Yeah.
You do?
I said it before, I'll say it again. 730 is the new 700. And even the beloved St. Deirdre Leopold, who usually tells the truth, St. Deirdre Leopold, also known as the former director of admissions of Harvard Business School, used to say, if it's above 700, we don't care. That's not true. That's not true at Harvard anymore, and it's not true anyplace else.
Now, Sandy D., you also used to say, our job is not one of evaluation, it's one of selection.
Yeah, I disagree with that too.
I know you would.
Yeah. It's the job of most business school admissions officers now is maintaining the school's rankings in US News. And that is the job, okay? Particularly, Nick, when you get to your school, you know, Harvard could not care much whether there are 1, 2, or 3 in US News. But the schools you're applying to, they're very sensitive. They're very sensitive to claiming they're in top 5 or top 10 US News. And there's great volatility in your target schools. So that's why the GMAT really counts.
That makes sense. So taking it at least 2 more times would probably be worth it then.
If you got the starch for it, taking it once, you know, very often your score goes up just taking it again.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was planning on getting a tutor or taking a class this time because I didn't prepare.
Well, yeah, boy, you might be good at this, buddy. You might come, you might walk out of there with a 740 and a 750.
Yeah, so if you didn't prepare, it's probably worth at least taking it one more time.
If that's the case, yeah, you could be a very powerful applicant here.
In my sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what Sandy said on the 20 points is right. In other words, it could put you into a position where you're going to get some scholarship money, which, taking the test again will definitely be worth it then.
My verbal score was higher than the quant score. Would that be mitigated from, due to my job, that it is a quantitative job, or would I need to try to even that out?
I would study the quant stuff. There's a lot of tricks you can learn in doing that.
Okay.
The quant part is more gameable than the verbal part, in my experience. John, do you have a view on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, practice. That's how you get the Carnegie Hall. That's how you score 730.
Let me say something else. Another reason for a 730. Employers look at that.
Yeah.
Like consulting, if you want to work for a consulting firm, that would be a good job for you after business school. If you went to these schools you're interested in, like Cornell and Duke, you could get a job at Bain McKinsey or BCG. But in order to do that, you've got to be in the real top 15% of your class. And they would, because McKinsey is interested in going to UVA and really cherry picking. So there's another reason why a 740 could help.
Okay.
You think the career goal is a good one?
Yeah, career goal is I want to transition from a career in engineering to a management role for an engineering company. And, jobs that I'd be interested in would be like a business development guy at, Schlumberger, okay, or a leading engineering company. Engineering companies are pretty decentralized. Are there any Fortune 20 engineering companies, John, that come to mind? I mean, Schlumberger is oil services, and it involves a lot of engineering.
Yeah.
Michael Baker.
Nick?
I think Michael Baker is probably the largest one that I can think of. It's an internet.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So odds at UVA, what do you think?
With this GMAT, UVA, you're going to have a hard time overcoming the 2.2. I think your odds there are really into reach territory, like 20%. Okay,
a little bit of advice on UVA. They just started an early action round with an open interview policy. You're a nice looking guy. I think you present well. You got to take advantage of that at UVA.
Okay. I was planning on applying to Duke early action as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well. And there, both these cases, early action is not binding like it is at Columbia. So that's a good bet. And I think it just puts the odds in your favor. But the more important thing is you get to go in. You don't have to wait and be invited for an interview.
Yeah.
What do you think the odds are at Duke?
A little bit better. With the 710, his odds are 30%. Boy, if he could get a 730 or a 740, it could go up to 35 to 40%, 35%.
Even with the 2.2.
Well, I'm willing to forget about it, but I may not be. I'm nicer than most admissions officers. I'm more forgiving than most admissions officers. Well, they have to answer to a different overseer.
Yes. And then you have Carnegie-Mellon, Cornell, and Notre Dame.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot, man. That's where you belong. And that's where you belong with perfect execution around the 2.2. So you should get in there because it's a sweet story, man. And it's one schools don't see. you know, you'd be you would act, you know, even though you're a white male, the truth is you would actually add to the diversity of the class just because of this civil engineering background. That's rare.
Yeah, that's true.
In my experience.
That is rare. Yep, agreed.
I thought engineering was a more common.
Yeah, it's you. By engineering, people mean work for Google.
Oh,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
The only thing they ever built that you could walk on is the only thing Google ever built is annoyance. Okay.
On my resume, would you leave the internships on there or take
Yeah, your resume is the fact you worked for the State Department of Transportation. That's a plus. Everybody knows that's a job that requires, as we pointed out, you know, ability to keep your nose clean and show up for work, and that's something that's valuable. And it's a whole domain of experience that's valuable. You're familiar with how state government works. You're familiar with how you know, big projects work.
And what about my extracurriculars? They seem okay.
Yeah. What's Krav Maga? Is that some kind of computer game or?
No, it's a self-defense. It's like,
Oh, yeah, that's good. I could always use a couple of those guys in case the classroom is invaded. Put this guy by the door. Yeah, they're fine.
Well, good luck. Get a tutor or whatever. Just prep for the next GMAT exam before you sit for it. If in fact you got a 710 without even studying or open a book, you know, Sandy's right. You'll have no trouble popping a 20, 30 point improvement on your second try. You don't need to go beyond that. Don't torture yourself. Not necessary. Right, Sandy?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I'm feeling good about this.
Yeah.
Check back and let us know how it works out, Nick.
All right. Thank you.
Nick, good luck to you.
Yep. Thank
Sandy,
you very much.
Thanks again. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants on Fridays with Sandy. Join us next week.
Bye all.